And the view is from the scenic San Fernando Hill, a place where the reigning 1991 national Calypso Monarch played in his early days, and a place which means a lot to him. We speak to Black Stalin today, Leroy Caliste. And Leroy, tell us something about this location.
Well, Alvin, I must say that San Fernando Hill brings back a real pleasant memory to me. I born something like about, 100 yards or more from here, a little street called Chisholm Street. I went to school. San Fernando Boys RC is less than half mile from the hill. I sort of spent all my early days, like early Calypso days, when I would need to run away and sort of by myself and sort of meditate. It would either be down at the sea, Flat Rock, or either right on the hill here. And I think, being here today bring back so much beautiful memories to me.
We are talking about a person whose career has spanned from 1959 to now 32 years of Calypso. That's a long time.
A pretty long time. But I must say that is 32 years that I've really enjoyed. I think, if I had a choice maybe to do it over again, I'll just do it over again. It was 32 beautiful years.
Well, let's start at the very beginning. What happened in 1959?
Well, I must say from 1958 it started happening. I grew up in a home where the art form was always around. I had a brother that really was a beautiful pianist here in San Fernando, Joe, and I sort of grew up with music home. And from early age I was sort of into it. 1958 I decided then, after singing and maybe doing a little block singing, I decided professionally I would do it. I met this guy by the name of Successor, who was one of the men responsible for sort of bringing Brian on the scene too. And he started to work with me like from the middle of 58, would take me around and he would help me with lines and so on. And from 59, in a little hall called Good Shepherd Hall in St. Madeleine, I sort of stepped on stage for the first time. And it was really a beautiful night. And that was just the beginning of it all.
Well, I read somewhere that the first Calypso you sang in that year was How or Why I Want to Be a Calypsonian. Can you remember any part of that Calypso?
Oh, that goes so far back that I had to say like Kitchener Boy. That one hard to remember. That one really hard.
That's understandable.
32 years, that was a long time.
Now, 3 years later, in 1962, one of your first, let's say, high moments, where you captured the Southern Calypso crown. Can you remember any aspect of that particular competition or the event itself?
Yeah, well, I remember that very good because I was still singing around the Southland. And the king at that time was Duke. In that competition, we had people like Maestro, we had people like Composer making his debut in San Fernando, and a couple other singers. And it was a beautiful night at Empire Cinema, where I sang two songs. I think the song was, what I should say,
Let's Unite.
Let's Unite, and a tribute to Larry Constantine. And it was a runaway. But what made it so beautiful that night is winning the crown that night, and that night even I was on at the national semi-finals. So it was just like winning the crown in San Fernando and just hustling to the savannah to take part in the national semi-final. And I remember I and Duke sort of trying to make it up High Street by the library to catch a car in time to go to town. He was singing A Day of All Day to Remember, and I was doing these two songs. And I think, ever since our friendship since that time has always been real tight. And it was beautiful. I think it was a beautiful year.
I always try to touch on my first recollection of the particular Calypsonian I'm dealing with. And somehow, whenever I think of the early days of you, I remember you singing over the board that they used to have in front of the band, and seeing you leaning over that board and singing. I just remember the line, Stalin Medallion. And I don't know what Calypso that particularly came from. It might have been one of the two tunes.
Oh, well, I think that time that was at OIB. That is the time when the twist was happening, and I made a song where this girl was asking me to teach her to dance the twist. Stalin, darling, what you doing? You woman rolling, stuff tickling. I mean,
you don't know what
but it was really a beautiful. It was some beautiful years.
Yeah, and it went over very, very well.
Yeah, but what was nice too is that while 64 and 65 singing at OIB, I had the opportunity that year to maybe talk with Sparrow. you know, and get to understand a little closer how Calypso was going and certain inside things about Calypso. Because at that point, he was really doing it outside there. And I was able at that early age to get close to him, have some serious rap with him. And I think 64 and 65 being in Sparrow Tent is, it's sort of, that was my first stage, I must say, into the big times.
Well, I see the start of it all with a tune called A Tribute to Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, when I made the switch 1967, I came back up in Port of Spain at the review. And I did Beat My Tune and another song by the name of Culture Force. And I sort of made it to the finals,
Yes, you placed actually fourth in
the finals, yeah, that year. That was another beautiful year again, because it was my first final, and I had the opportunity of singing in that final between people like Cypher, people like Terror was defending the scrum, it had melody, and I learned a whole lot inside of that space. And those years I started to build one positive song and still shake it up with a little, spicy one. And I did that 68, 67. Which, it
67 was the first time that you reached finals.
Finals, yeah. 68, I sort of won the downtown competition, and I didn't even make it to the semi-final. So I sort of stayed home and I really do some serious homework in 68, and I turned up with Martin Luther King.
A man that all the world considered as wise, a man that was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. Violence was never his way to fight, but made several prison tours for civil rights. I remember one day in Mississippi when a reporter put a question to him: why must American Negroes get civil rights? And this was his answer, to my delight: we till their cotton fields and give their pockets more wealth, mind their babies and had them in the best of health. Took part in the Olympic, don't care if we die, just to keep the star and strike flying high. Uphold democracy in and out of this land, from Germany to the foxhole of Vietnam. All this we did for America, so faithful and true. Tell me why we can't eat in the same place like you.
Now that's 10 years after you started singing Calypso. You almost did it. You placed second that year.
Second that year. I mean, and it was really, it was like a miracle. I always tell myself, how it happened, I just didn't know. But what I know is that I'm always doing homework, and we keep running workshops, and unknown one, and we was always tight, And I turned up with Martin Luther King, and a song I never missed, Tourist replied. And I was singing in the review. Well, I must say at that point, after meeting Kitchener, in 1967, I was able to really understand it all. Because never one day was I in Kitchener tent sort of harnessed. I was able to relate to Lord Kitchener in terms of Calypso, if the meters ain't right, if the words ain't rhyme, because I spent something like 10 years very close with him, and that was the starting of that relationship. And it's between there that I sort of learned the fine art about the pen, about penning a Calypso. So 1969, when I got into this final, I was now ripe then, just under Kitchener hand and ready to go. And that was a beautiful year. It was really a beautiful year.
Well, the next big event, as far as I see, the song that you sang that up to today is like if the words still mean everything that's going on today. Repaint the Portrait of Trinidad. 1972.
1972. Well, wow. What I should say about
Now people clap their hands. People felt so glad when Sniper made Portrait of Trinidad. But look around today, your eyes may get sore. What Sniper said, we have it down here no more. When a man say we not what we used to be, don't care how much it hurts, but one must agree. From 1965 to now, we are no more great. Our country has vast military. No more our apprentice or dropping out from school every day in this island. No money to continue their education. Our beach lake is the greatest the world has seen. Yet roads here are the worst in the Caribbean. So don't bow down your head, brother, don't feel bad. I'm only painting the portrait of Trinidad.
And this new portrait, that final, I must say, was really a beautiful final for me. Because I had the opportunity for the first time of stepping on the stage in the savannah with Sparrow, Kitchener, Chalktas, Relita, Duke on his fifth.
After 4 years
yes,
straight.
and Pretender, and that was, I think it's one of the best ever finals that I've sung in. I think I came something like fourth in that competition.
You came
fourth that year too. And it was just something as Sparrow singing Drunk and Disorderly and Rope, Kitchener singing Mrs. Harriman and the letter, Chokda singing Afraid Carl and Culture, Francine, Mr. Carnaval, Relita, Gavaska. Man, it was really something happening.
That's the media was a victory.
I tell you, it was. I think it's the best ever final that I've sung.
Now the following year, you did a tune which again has become one of your trademarks, and your rendition of it in the Nafita Awards this year, Love Your Own. I have never heard you sing it better.
Yeah, well, well, I think, that rendition, this rendition of Love Your Own that I did at the Nafita Award, I think, it's one of the things, this setting of any show would say how good it would be for the night. And I think I must again compliment the people at the Nafita Awards for setting such a beautiful stage that night. I think everything was just in the mood right there for Love Your Own. It was a beautiful rendition.
Yes, I'm begging. Yes, I'm pleading. You should love your own. You're not listening to what I'm saying, but someday you would get burned with your culture. You have no time. What I say, you pay me no mind. But one day you're going to be sorry that you didn't listen to me. One of these days, you go wake up and hear what you go find. Canada is the land of the limbo. England is the land of Calypso. Sweden is the land of the steel band. And then is nothing but Trinbagonian. Then you go put your hand on your head and you go fall out. If I didn't know, I would have hold on to me.
So 1976, when I was called for the semi-final, after not making it like 73, 74, and 75, I just tell myself, well, I have a nice season. I know I could go to the savannah and do some beautiful things. But I think I should sit out this one and go to the savannah carnival Sunday night, sit down in the audience, see what the show looked like. And this is what I did. So in 1978, I sat down home. And I sort of really prepared for Calypso Crown. I tell myself, well, William Mano came up with this deal that we could do an album together, and I must, always say thanks to him for sort of giving me that first break to do that album outside here, where I was able to sort of express myself. And that opportunity was never really given to me with the recording room, and right. I got this opportunity from him. And I sat down and I do the Caribbean Man album.
20 years it took you to win a Calypso Crown. That is paying your dues.
Yeah.
In 1979, with Caribbean Unity and Play One.
They try with a federation, the whole thing end in confusion. CARICOM and then CARIFTA, but somehow a smelling disaster. Mr. West Indian politician, you went to a big institution, and how come you can't unite 7 million? When a West Indian unity, I know this very easy. If you only rap to your people and tell them like we, them is one race. The Caribbean man. From the same place. The Caribbean man that make the same trip. The Caribbean man. On the same ship. The Caribbean man. So we must push one common intention for a better life in the region. For we women and we children. That must be the ambition of the Caribbean man. The Caribbean man. The Caribbean man.
In fact, you got a lot of flack. And people saying, well, you know, what this thing is man talking about black man coming together and we're the other races in the Caribbean and all of that.
True. Well, I mean, like, well, you know, unknown always tell me then that, you know, once you don't go with the others, you're going to get some blows. And once you're getting some blows, means you're saying something. So, you know, with all that sort of blow up on the people's races and this and that, I sort of get a clear vision of maybe again why the Caribbean thing can't work out. You know, it's a lot of short-sighted people, and people will just live for today. And, you know, and I mean, like, still up to now, we ain't fulfilled Caribbean man yet. I think, like, what it was with Play One was this. During that time, I heard a lot of Calypso made with steel band, with pan, I saw that company, the Calypsonians. As far back as maybe Spoiler, I remember some of his early recording with steel band. But I never did hear a duet between a Calypsonian and a panist. And I wanted to really get the pan out instead of it being used just as a accompanying instrument for me. I wanted it to be used as a solo instrument. So hence this whole idea about having the pan share the stage with the man.
So come on and play one color maestro. Play maestro a sweet solo with melody to bring back so much memories of all the beautiful souls maestro sang for we. Play one.
Onward, we always could look forward to one or two good tunes from Stalin. And there were some outstanding single tunes I want to talk about. Vampire Year.
Well, again, we was approaching I think it was the 81 election. And again, like we keep seeing election after election, party after party. And when I look around, you know, John still stay, Waterhole still stay, Little Africa still stay, Bacadé in San Fernando still stay, with no changes. And I mean, 5 years after 5 years, people keep coming and saying, come on, give me a taste, and you won't get a taste. And we gave them a taste, and we still ain't getting no taste. And I sum it up to be, this is just people that suck in your blood. Mm-hmm. These is people just come in and sort of, you know, and put in fancy talk down on you, and nothing happened. So I think the only way that I could tell the nation, beware, look out for them, is vampire coming.
Vampire, like thieves passing through ghetto. When they're looking for blood, oh Lord, they know where to go. With banners and placards evermore. Every minute of the day, knocking at your door. But they're making sure before they pass, they're taking all with chillum and grass. An hour so before they come, let's move on forward with whiskey and rum. Take it deep, your chalice smoking. Vampire passing. Party vampire, group vampire, hard vampire, wet vampire. Take the chalice smoking. Vampire passing. They say you know how they care about me welfare. See them with them out fuck begging for the stuff. Take the chalice smoking. Vampire passing.
Now, the following year, you went into a new Calypso tent that not many people remember, called the Airi Calypso Theater, and you did a tune, Black Man Don't Get Nothing Easy, which I think is one of your outstanding compositions.
Yeah. Well, I must tell you a little about my reason for going into Airi that year, which I think a lot of people do. I had worked something like 2 years, and we formed the Wizard Calypso 10. which we started at Port Services, but the original base, it was right where the Spectacular is now. That building there, again, we must say thanks to William Monroe for having that kind of vision to build merely what we call the only concert hall in like 20 years in Trinidad. We have the Spectacular Forum. And we sort of built the Spectacular Forum for our Calypso tent, which was the Kingdom of the Wizard. After things didn't work out with the Kingdom of the Wizard, the business was turned over to the Spectacular people. So I left and I went and I do the year with Kitchener at Port Services, which was 1981. After the season, there was a merger between Calypso Review and Spectacular for the 1982 season. And I decided, well, look, I on the Spectacular side, and I wouldn't go into that deal. So I decided again with Valentino that we do something called the Irie Calypso 10. And that year, that particular song, you know, I think it's one of my better compositions. It's one of my more popular songs, Black Man Don't Get Nothing Easy. Because at that time, you know, we started to get a little, you know, the oil money started to clear up and dry up a little bit, and the whole country wanted to know what will happen when this thing done, and some people were still feeling that oil money could be here all the time. And I was trying to like put over in that song, you know, that you got to hold on to the little that you have, because we don't get it so easy.
In fact, your first line tells it all. You wake up one morning.
Yeah, and oil money running.
Oil money
How it come,
running.
you don't know.
How it come, you don't know. You don't care how the thing go. But if you read about Uriah Butler, you will find out the pressure. How they get so much old hell to get a penny from TLL.
You know, and we had beautiful lines like, you know, where I said, you got to take up your own cash money, pay people for your own refinery. Black man to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind to be a magician, to make money out that scrap iron. Again, we had like, you know, a little unrest and things, because we came through that kind of period there. And, you know, where we talk about, we got to go to conference in England to get independence in your own land. Yeah, people hold you, humiliate you, enslave you, and then they free you, you know. And it was one of my better songs of the 80s. People hold you, humiliate you, turn around and sell you, and then they free you. Black man to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you hear you hold on to that something, with that eagle eye you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man to get nothing easy.
Okay, we're going to get up a little bit more now to the modern era. And your second Monarch title, 1985.
Doherty. And is that well, to be honest with you, you know, that year I never had intentions of going to Savannah, because the year before that, I sang Make Them Alright. And I sort of wasn't pleased with my whole performance and thing in the season. Like, I started to get a kind of lull again. Like, if I wasn't, you know, get sort of mixed up in certain things. And I just decided that I wasn't going to go to Savannah. I spent some time in New York. And I remember while staying at a brother's home in New York, Iron, you know, I used to be home whole day. And Bama came up with this topic, Doherty. And I tell myself, I wouldn't even compete with this song this year. Look, I going down and just sing this song in the tent. And I came down. It was never recorded. You know, it was never recorded. It was just singing it. And I remember from the first night I sang that song in Arima, I remember that Choctaw and Duke was there. And the next night they came over to the tent. And Choctaw was saying, well, boy, I consider myself a composer. He said, but you see, last night that song that you sing, Doherty, he said, you proved to be you is really a composer, and I even start yet. 1983, the fans beg for favor. Yes, I decide to help them. So I write it over. Last year they come back, but with a different story. They say they want something smutty about Gina Doherty. And now on your fans, you know your view can depend. So I sit down to write this, but only to please them. But as I take off my pen and my piece of paper and I write out the postcodes, this is what I remember. And that oil money come and oil money go. Poor people remain
get to. When Mr. Divider start to divide the bread equally, yes, I'm going and finish the whole Calypso about Doherty, our taxi, and the jammer, and we roll back. But once my people stop fighting, for equal share the cake that she.
Isn't because I sort of wrote that song like about a year or two before. I wrote that song just as the Grenada crisis sort of take place. At that point, I didn't want to sing it the immediate year after the Grenada crisis because the things was in the air and I didn't think people had a clear insight of what happened in Grenada. Right. And I wanted to give it some time so I would deal with it total. You know, and I sort of give it a year and a half and 2 years, and then I did some schism. And it went over well, I think, as the second song, you know, to win the crown.
Grenada, Grenada, the black man, thank you. Grenadians teach me the biggest lesson. And who will learn from them, I am sorry. But listen to the lessons Grenadians teach me. They teach me that capital social or communism is the same gunhead all of them on. And from the time you team up with them, like Grenada, you're straight on the losing end. My friend, got to stay away from them ism. All them ism is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon just to hold on to your ism.
So much material to talk about. The following year, defending your crown with Morecambe. But let's go on to 1987 when you won the crown for the third time. Fantastic year for you. I mean, this is the year of Mr. Panmaker and Bundem, which I personally consider the best double that a Calypsonian came into our final with. Any tune could have stood up on its own.
Hail, 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 Mr. Panmaker. I hereby appoint you as steel band savior. Don't you know the whole future of the steel pan? Yes, it lies in you, the Panmaker hand. It is you who have built the steel pan industry. So standardization is a must, you would agree. Look, the secret of making steel pan is you alone must know, and you must carry that with you anywhere you go. Now, yeah, what you must know, how many grams of steel is going to take to make a base pan? Or what is the degree of heat you need to burn a yellow pan? Or what is the size of the rubber? 2 feet high, double tenor. These are the facts that you must have under lock and cover. So let them pirate, keep them from. Let them rent the skill of the man. But rough up inside of your hand go be the secret of making pan.
Mr. Panmaker was lyrics of class, one of the best tunes that have been written for the pan in terms of its lyrical content. Now, Bundem, as a lanyard tune, and you got your flack again. People say you even sing the song, is the whole audience sing it for you. How do you respond to that?
Well, really, I was very hoarse that night. But I think, like, I knew that the lyrics in the song, even though if I lose some points with lyrics in the song, but my performance is going to be out there. I knew from first round already that I was on. I didn't have much fighting. I just had was to seal. So what I did that night in the Savannah stage, more instead of singing Bundem, and if you look at the flick, I sort of conduct the audience. You know, so that night was a whole different final performance for me. And I mean, anytime you look over the film, you would see it. Instead of more singing, I was more sort of directing the audience, you know, to sing for me. Right?
What?
Well, I remember you coming out like a ball of fire in this red outfit, looking small at first and then opening up as you came on stage.
Yeah, well, well, I think it was, it was a show well planned.
Jano, Jano, what? Jano, 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 hey! Burn them, man! Burn them! Evil doers! Commitment against Africa and Africans, burn them! Burn them, man! I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning. Judgment morning, I'm by the gate and I'm waiting. God, I'm begging the master. Give me and walk with Peter. It got some sinners coming. With them I go be dealing. Because the things that they do me, I'm going to fix them personally. Peter wait, Peter wait. Peter looks at the road by the gate.
Funny, funny.
Peter look the Englishman. We send us the road to Africa land.
Funny, funny.
Peter take drink, take rally, but leave Victoria for me.
Funny, funny.
Peter got just don't care what you say. Mussolini, yeah, take away.
Funny, funny.
Why?
This is my land for Monday.
Burn it, man.
Peter, it is my umbrella.
Listen now, man.
My land for Monday.
I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning and I'm burning.
Peter, it is my umbrella.
Bring fire, bring fire.
Well, I wanted to know what was going on in the savannah. I mean, I've spent so much time in the savannah, and never did I see it like this.
Well, this year, 1991, you've won the crown for the fourth time. And I mean, one wonders, how could you have done better than the year with Bandem? But this year has been really an outstanding year for you. Let's talk about 1991 and your material for this year.
Yeah, well, what I said, 1991, I started to write that album, Look on the Bright Side, in New York. I sort of finished writing it in Trinidad. And
Life may be rough.
I really wanted to soften up a little on this album because, like, we're going through, you know, when you look at it, all music going through a sort of change now. I mean, like, although people understand, people love the construction and some of the arrangement, but I think now with the speed of what things happening, you know, people have less time to concentrate about the meat and the music itself. So I wanted to sort of soften things up for 1991. We went into the studio. I had Bright Side as my number one song.
While we appreciate the little life got to give, regardless what's the hood, we must think positive. Look on the brighter side. Look on the brighter side. Because I see a silver lining behind this gray cloud we're passing. Look on the bright side. Look on the bright side. For the bright side is where we go in.
And then, just like the album came out and Black Man want to party, just take off. And I mean, like, don't care how we try to hold that song down and say, well, all right, we go try Move or try Revolution Time. It wasn't working at all. And I mean, up to now, Black Man feeling the party just on.
Stop all housework you're doing. Tonight we going and have some fun. I just feel it to party the way we used to when we was young. Just put on something sexy so you'll be free to move around. Make sure the children okay. We ain't coming home until morning comes. Why? Tonight the black man feeling the party. Oh, tonight the black man feeling the
Jump, 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 jump.
Tonight the black man just feels the boogie. Come on, hold on to your man. And let me. Bala. Jam it.
How would you like your fans to perceive you, both in terms of the way you perform on stage and, let's say, the man Black Stalin who they do not see off stage?
Well, again, like it's the same man.
What?
Time, but we must keep fighting. Remember they say that nothing lasts forever. One day is for the slave, one day for the master. So always keep your courage up. Don't allow confidence to drop. One day we'll be right there on top. While we appreciate the little life got to give, regardless what's the hood, Trini must think positive.
Look on the brighter side. Look on the brighter side.
Because I see a silver lining behind this gray cloud we're passing. So look on the bright side. Look on the bright side. For the bright side is where Trinidad.